So, welcome to this Honorary Justice Podcast episode where we look into the world of learning management systems, or LMS, and customer relationship management, often called CRM systems, and their relevance in helping support honorary justice associations in Australia. In this session, we will look at the benefits, challenges, and valuable insights that our guest speaker has to offer, and provide you with some actionable takeaways that you can use to navigate the world of the LMS and CRM systems effectively. My name is Paul Marchek. I'm a JP based in Victoria, and I'm your host for today. And we have a special guest, Keith Revell, a JP based in Queensland, who is an expert and a wealth of first-hand experience in finding, reviewing, and implementing LMS and CRM systems within the Queensland Justice Association. Welcome, Keith. Great to have you here today to provide some insights on the systems that you have used, which I'm sure that both are positive and also give us some pitfalls that we should be aware of.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks for the invite today. Yeah, glad to be here. Yeah, I've been in the IT industry for pretty much 40 years now. I'm retired at the moment, but during my career, I've seen the highs and lows of project implementations, and from experience, I can see how even small systems implementations can suffer from poor planning. So I'm glad to be here today, be able to share with you some of my experience, especially since my retirement. I've worked with a number of charities and not-for-profits, helping them implement or modify their systems, and understand that even the most cost-conscious not-for-profits need to prepare well for any major changes to their IT systems. I worked with the Queensland Justice Association as an IT consultant, advising on opportunities for their new IT systems, and managed the search for and recommended solutions for their new membership and learning management system. And I hope I'll be able to share some of that experience with you today.
I'm sure you will. Isn't it the definition of retired is plenty of work but no pay?
Correct. Yes.
There's always plenty of those jobs available, isn't there?
Yes.
I think to start with, maybe so making sure that we're all on the same page, maybe you can help us with explaining for us, what do you mean by the acronyms LMS and CRM? And also, more importantly, what can we expect that these types of systems provide when we use them?
Oh, look, the IT system is well renowned for spreading acronyms around, and any IT discussion that doesn't have acronyms is missing out on something. But yeah, we need to be careful when we use these acronyms to make sure that we fully understand what we're referring to. So in the context of this discussion today, when I talk about a customer relationship management system, or CRM, it can be called many things, including like membership management systems, or membership systems, or customer systems, or just a simple membership databases. But any system that helps you manage your members, your volunteers, that's what we're covering today. Some membership systems provide extra benefits that may be of value to you, such as interfacing to websites or providing sort of automatic invoice renewal, payment renewals, shop front. Those sorts of things all need to be looked at when you decide whether you want to implement a new system. A learning management system is a tool that can help you track the progress of your members, your volunteers, in our attendance at courses they participate in. And, like any other systems, they have bells and whistles that go with them. Some tools provide the option of actually co-authoring and running the courses, and the courses can be run online. So again, you need to determine what it is you want to run and how you want those systems to be implemented. And like any IT systems, we love to complicate things. So some of these systems can be standalone, some can be integrated. You might find bells and whistles that provide everything you need all in one package. And you need to make sure the tools are scalable. So when you're looking at what tools suit your needs, you need to pick the right system that suits your requirements. And it takes a bit of forethought and planning. This isn't something you just jump into and buy the first package that you see on your website.
Yeah, well, I think there's plenty out there for us to look at. So thanks for providing that as a basis for everyone. Do you see these systems as being, firstly, worthwhile? And are they only for large organisations, or should a smaller association even bother with them?
So the sort of questions you need to ask is, are they suitable for you? the sort of questions you and your organisation need to ask are, are your current systems coping? How old are they? Who has all the knowledge and how they work? Are they limiting your ability to grow? And are you still doing some things manually? It's available. These sorts of technologies can suit any sized organisation.
Mm.
It comes down to a needs and a cost basis. There are a myriad of options in the marketplace for organisations of all sizes, and understandably not-for-profits need to contain their costs. So deciding whether to buy a software system can be a difficult decision to make, and one that should not be taken lightly.
True.
Membership systems can help drive your organisation's membership growth and improve your retention by offering better communication, better engagement with your members, improved services. They can also help streamline your office procedures, enabling your office staff and volunteers to focus on growth and engagement rather than just paperwork. Similarly, in the training and development area, there are some key attributes that not-for-profit can be used to actively engage with and enhance your membership skills. So do you currently provide training or professional development? Is it still face-to-face? Do you offer any sort of online training? If you're offering your members a lot of training and professional development, you need to keep track of what training is being completed. Then some form of management system could be worthwhile. And if you're growing your development applications, then a manual system, paper and pencil may not cut it any longer. But bear in mind, before you rush off to buy any new system, you really need to understand in great detail what your current systems can do, what they actually cost you to run, and where are the gaps. Once you understand this, then you know what your base is. Now you can create lists of what you must have in your system, what you would like to have in your system, and what extras would be helpful. It's important that you talk to all your stakeholders, your board, your management committees, your staff, your members, your volunteers. Find out what they see as necessary in any new system. You need to work out what your budget is. It's no good coming in with bells and whistles all in for everything package, but you can't afford it. So you need to work out what your budget is, how much scope you have in selecting your new package. There is a lot of preparation in work before you even start looking at the market and what the market can offer you.
That's good advice. And of course, with volunteer associations, the budget is always zero. So it's always a challenge for us all, isn't it, as far as that is concerned? That's good insight for, I think, any association. What are some of the common challenges that organisations face when integrating and migrating these types of systems?
Well, I mean, any sort of package, doesn't matter whether you're looking at, a package to look after your members, a package to look after your training, or a package to look after your budgets, your finances. You always need to have a list close to hand of what it is you're really looking for in that package. Don't just look at the marketing gloss of a particular piece of software and say, oh, this sounds really good. Really understand what it is you want and what you need before you start looking at the market. It'll be unusual to find a package that suits all your needs as well. So you've already got to start thinking about, in what areas can we compromise? In what areas can we change our internal practices to suit the package, rather than trying to customize the package to suit our systems? Your processes, especially if they're manual, may not be the most efficient processes that could be attained. And if you start looking at packages, look at, can I modify my processes? Is there a way that I can enhance the benefit to suit our needs and make sure that it fits in with our business practices? You'll often need two packages, one membership, one training, and another budget even. So you could end up with 3 or more packages. So you need to start thinking about, how do these packages, how does the information talk to each other? What integration options have we got available? If the packages are from completely different companies, they may not talk to each other at all. If that's the case, are you starting to duplicate information? Do you have all of your members' details in 3 or more different places? Which means that if a member changes their telephone number, you've got multiple places you have to change the telephone number. So think about the packages you're selecting, the bit of software that you're going to use, how can it link to the other pieces of software that you want to use? And before you sign any contracts, work out how you're going to get your current data into the new system. So often I've been through projects with businesses, both when I was in professional IT capacity and with not-for-profits, and they haven't really considered the idea of, well, how do I get my data from this, spreadsheet that I've been running, or this little database that I've had, or these pieces of paper that I've been keeping in cards into the new system? And is the current data that I've got, is that accurate? Is it correct? Or am I just loading up more rubbish into the new system? There's another acronym we often use, which is called GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. You need to be careful what data you're uploading into the new system to make sure that you're not just making a rod for your own back in the future.
Yeah, I mean, I've experienced that as well, that it's the legacy systems that you've got are the problem, in that you've got information on multiple locations by people. Databases tend to be on everyone's personal computer somewhere on the hard drive, and then you've got to try and collect it all, and you don't know which is right and which is wrong. So that connection, and when you start to go into a consolidated system, is very important. So thanks for those insights. So from your perspective, what have you learned from introducing LMS and CRM systems into your association, the Queensland Justice Association, and what value have they brought now that they've been in place for a while?
It was an interesting conversation we had when we started on that journey with the QJA. And like many organisations that I've worked with, because the current systems didn't quite suit their needs, they were creating spreadsheets and little tables all over the place. So it was a bit of a challenge initially to work out where all the data was coming from. And like many not-for-profits and organisations, they've migrated from handwritten journals to spreadsheets to little handwritten, manually made databases to cloud-based systems. And now they're looking to move to a more integrated package. Every time they migrated, a little bit of data got lost. So it was a challenge, and this is not unique. With other organisations who have had likewise challenges. So we spent quite a bit of time working with the board, with the staff, with the volunteers, working out exactly what they needed, what were their lists of musts and wants. We went out to the market to look at what was available. Initially, we couldn't find a single package that did everything. And to be honest with you, it'd be unusual if you did find a single package that did everything that you wanted to do.
True.
But the next step was to carefully look at, all right, if we chose different packages, how could they link together? How can we minimize the amount of paperwork we're doing to keep all of these systems up to date? And what processes, if any, do we need to change in our office to really get the maximum benefit from this new package? So once we'd worked all of that out, we went to the market, we researched, we did lots of test drives, did lots of testing the marketing information versus what was actually delivered. And if you're looking at, I come from an IT background, and I've got to be honest with you, some marketing brochures do not really reflect what it actually does. So be prepared to pull the curtain aside, test drive it and see what it actually does and whether it suits your need. Don't take the salesman's glib answers at face value. So the QJA systems, they've now installed a fully integrated membership management system. They've installed a fully integrated learning management system, and the two do talk to each other. There is a third system that is used to track students that complete the online and the face-to-face courses in preparing to become a JP or a CDEC. That's necessary because we are a registered training organisation, and they do need certain records to be kept to ensure they are compliant with ASPA. So that third system is predominantly to do that. But even with that system, we've managed to develop interfaces to minimise the amount of data that is duplicated. So the package that was chosen has an online shop. Members can go online and pay their membership dues. They can book courses. They can order merchandise. They can look at resources and information that's available through the website. The package also provides the public and the members portals, so we don't need a separate web management system.
Mm-hmm.
So in implementing these systems, QJA has managed to decommission and save money in a number of areas and consolidated a number of disparate, separate, difficult to manage IT systems into one package that then reduces the need and reduces the reliance on an individual in the organisation.
Mm.
One of the biggest challenges in small not-for-profits, and QJA and 3 or 4 other organisations that I've worked with were all suffering the same problem, is that there was one person in the organisation had all the knowledge of how these systems worked, and if and when that person ever left, it all came crashing down. So it's important to try and set yourself up so that you're not relying on an individual, and spread the knowledge amongst multiple people in your organisation. If you are buying a package, make sure you have sufficient support tools available through that organisation to provide all the support you need, irrespective of who's in the office, and make sure that you have the knowledge to enhance and grow the system to suit your needs.
Yeah, I mean, that's been partially my experience too. One of the things just about, I think you also have to be very aware of is that every time you pull those curtains back and you want to take something for a test drive, there are quite a few hours involved in doing exactly that. It's not just, you stick the ignition key and turn it and it goes on. It can be, 10, 20, 30, 40 hours per package when you're looking at them, because you have to try with your own data for it as well. So certainly, people need to be aware of there is some ongoing cost to start with when they try and test these systems out for it, and not just go in with their eyes shut. I think it's an important thing to remember as well.
That's part of the role that I played for QJA and the others, was I did, if you like, the first pass, eliminating the obvious unsuitable ones, coming up with a number of packages and products and suppliers that I thought was worth looking at. And then the office staff and the board then got involved and looked at it in more detail.
Yeah.
So I did a first cut of it for them.
Yeah, no, that's good. And I think your other point is that making sure that you have the support network there rather than being dependent on one person. Of course, people never stay forever. So you've got to make sure that the system is self-supporting and that knowledge base is there to make sure the association can continue. I think that often gets missed for it. So very useful information, I think, that people should be aware of. The other side of that is, how important is the customization and scalability when selecting the LMS and CRM systems for an association? You just touched on it a little bit. Is there anything else that you would like to expand on that?
I actually recommend avoiding customizations as much as possible. My experience in IT systems is every time you talk customization, the salesman rubs their hand with glee, because it means dollar signs, because customization invariably means modifying their systems to suit your needs. Don't get me wrong. I mean, many of these systems have parameters that you can adjust to tailor the package to suit your needs, and that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Using the parameters that are readily available within the system is an appropriate use of those tools. But when you talk customization, this is where I mean you have asked the supplier to modify their system to specifically suit yours and yours alone, which means they can't sell that package to anybody else.
That's right, yeah.
That modification to anybody else. The problem with that is it invariably costs you more money up front, and every time there's a new release of that particular product, the supplier has to make that change again, which means more money, and you'll be constantly paying it. So avoid customizations. So this is where I said up front, be prepared to compromise. Look at your business processes. If you need to change something within your business to suit the package, that is preferable to doing customizations. Scalability is critical, and you've got to look at scaling both ways. You've got to look at the package to say, right, if this is successful and my membership grows, can this package grow with me? You also have to look at, well, all right, if circumstances change and my business shrinks, maybe the number of JPs in your state is reduced for some reason and your membership base shrinks. Can this package shrink with me? Or am I paying a fixed fee regardless of how many people I reduce it to? So having a scalable pricing scheme and a scalable package that you can upsize and downsize to suit your needs is important. And you also need to look at, what if I change my business model? What if I embark into an area that I hadn't thought about embarking before? Can this particular package accommodate that change? You may not know what that change is right now, but have a look at how flexible the package is to growing and changing and expanding into areas that you may want to take your business to in the future.
Yeah, I think that's an important thing for people to keep in mind. I mean, we're talking about associations, but in the end, they're a business as well, and they have to be able to be flexible to make those changes because things are quite often outside of our control, and we have to be resilient and adaptable to make those changes as quickly as possible.
Absolutely.
The other thing that I get a lot of people talking about, and it's been in the news a lot because of breaches on data security. Can you elaborate on the significance of data security and compliance in these systems?
I'll summarise if that's okay.
Yeah, it's probably a big area, right?
We could probably do another whole podcast on data security. Yeah. So in sort of fairly high-level terms, if you've gone with a reputable supplier, they will have appropriate security measures in place. And the thing that you've got to think about these days is most software packages, you do not hold the data on your premises. They're held out in what's called the cloud.
Yep.
And the cloud is essentially just somewhere on the internet, usually on premises owned or leased by the supplier. So there's some questions you can ask. You can ask your supplier, what are your security levels? What is your compliance with security protocols and standards? How often do you take system backups? Where are your backups stored? Make sure they're not stored in the same place your computer systems are stored. Do you have the ability to take your own backups? It's your data after all. A lot of the packages will offer you the option to export or back up your own data, which is definitely worthwhile because if, heaven forbid, a plane falls on the data center where your data is stored, you want to make sure that you still have access to that information because information is the lifeblood of your organization. If you lose your information, you may as well lock up now and go home because you can't run your organization, you can't run your business. So protecting your information is critical. You also need to look at where are these systems held. Most of them are probably held in America, which is fine, but you need to think about internet access. Do you have sufficient internet bandwidth to be able to access these systems across the internet? You may need to even think about upgrading your own data network. What support do they offer? If it's based in America, it's no good them saying, oh, we're open during business hours, because that's overnight here in Australia. You need a 24/7 support desk. A lot of big companies have shared offices here in Australia, and you'll find there will be some support people here in Australia, which these are the sorts of questions you need to make sure of before you sign on that dotted line, so you know what you're in for when you start upgrading and migrating your systems.
Yeah, I'm actually going through something similar from my own stuff. I was looking at a network attached storage, to be able to see how I can update it, but also online and different locations, because what happens in case of a fire. And you're quite right, making sure that you have the data and it's protected is one thing, but encryption and security is another that a lot of people are more aware of these days after all the ones that we've seen with Optus and banks and other things that have been going on for it. So you covered a lot of good things in there in a very short period of time on LMS and CRM systems. And, we're coming towards the end of the podcast. I suppose the important thing for people is what are some of the key learnings and takeaways that you are prepared to share with your association when you're considering LMS and the CRM implementation, because implementation can be quite difficult at times and painful has been my experience as well. What have you found in terms of your learnings with this?
Okay, you probably need to talk to QJA to get first-hand knowledge of what their experience is now, but I can sort of talk about based on discussions I've had with the office, but also with a couple of other organisations where I've helped them implement similar systems and gone through similar processes. The critical thing, I think, number one, make sure you look at what you need first. Make sure you have a very close, hard look at what you're currently doing. Don't underline anything until you've made sure that you understand how your current systems operate, where all your data is. You'll be surprised how many organisations have critical bits of information on one person's PC, and until you start looking for it, you didn't realise it was there. Start thinking about how you will manage the migration of your data, where you've got information that's kept in multiple places around your organisation. You need to bring all that data together. You need to massage it and filter it and make sure it's all correct and accurate and up to date before you migrate to the new system. When you are looking at packages, look at how do they integrate? Do they suit my needs? Are there sufficient parameters in the system to enable me to customize it to suit my needs? How am I going to actually migrate the systems from the old to the new? Is there a process of implementation that I need to go through? Decommissioning your old systems is equally important. I haven't even touched on that. But there should be a period of overlap where you maybe are running your old systems and your new systems so that you can check and confirm that the output from your new systems is as what you expect, especially if you're doing things like, invoicing, member renewals, providing an online shop, selling merchandise. You want to make sure that the invoices and the receipts that go out are correct as far as the systems are concerned. So you might need to budget to have a couple of extra staff in the office or some extra volunteers while you go through that overlap period. And make sure that you have a discussion with the package supplier about where is their support? How are you going to support me here in Australia when your systems, your offices are all based in Seattle or somewhere in Los Angeles? Make sure that you have questions, you've asked questions about the data security and backups and compliance. There are heaps of websites out there that will tell you the sorts of questions that you need to ask to make sure that they provide the right level of security for you. And at the end of the day, some people may look at their current systems and say, no, I'm happy where I am. I don't need to change. So don't change just for the sake of it. You don't need to change just because there's a latest whiz-bang super duper bit of software just released that's being announced with bells and whistles. If your systems are suitable and they're providing your services that you need, and there's more than one person in the office who knows how to operate them, maybe you're okay. But if you're finding some gaps, your business has changed, or you want to grow your business, but you're sort of stuck in a little bit of a trap at the moment, then it might pay to just take a few moments, sit back and have a look at what your options are.
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, we also have to be thoughtful about the fact that the associations that we're talking about with, certainly for JPs, is can vary from 1,000 to 80,000 in terms of the association sizes. So they're going to have different needs and different requirements for it. So they need to really understand the nuances that they need for it. And I think the other thing that came to mind while you were talking that is your connection to your accounting system is also an important part of that. Quite often you could be Xero, MyOb, whatever it may be. How do they interface relative to those accounting systems that you have is also an important thing that people need to take into consideration.
Yes.
Well, thank you, Keith, for your insights. It's been really good. I mean, we've spoken many a times and talked about a lot of these things. And certainly, I think you've hit the nail on the head with all those things for people. And I think everyone can take something away from that and get some learnings from it for it. So thank you very much for making your time available. It was a bit difficult to try and get some of your time with all the things that are going on in your world, but very much appreciated. And I'm sure that all the listeners will get something out of it. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Paul. It's been a pleasure. I certainly hope my experience has helped and shed some lights and given some people pause for for thought and giving us some ideas of where they go to from here. It's been an absolute pleasure. I've enjoyed it.
So that's all for our listeners. Thank you for listening. And this will be hopefully another one of our podcasts of information sessions for everyone to learn and get some additional information that they can use in their associations going forward.